This video is sponsored by Adobe Express, and in today's video we're going to be taking a vector image that I created in Firefly and turning that into a poster inside of Adobe Express. Let's dive in and take a look. So if you were with me last time, we created this kind of like poster and vector image. If you've not watched that video, I'll link it up here for you and down in the description. But we created this vector image here, and then all I do is click on more and open this up in Adobe Express. And that's exactly what we've got here. And now we're going to turn this into a poster for our fictitious event. Now, if you are looking for some poster inspiration and things like that, you can come to Adobe Express and explore all of their templates. There's over 500,000 templates to explore, and this is just some of the posters that you can kind of like draw some inspiration from. And I like this one, but I had some kind of like ideas of what I wanted to create. Now, the first thing I want to do is add in the details of our actual event. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our text, and it's going to be called the Summit Drift Open 2026. Now, to make this stand out, because that's not the font we want to use and that's not the kind of like style that we want to use, we can come over and choose from our fonts. We can choose something a little bit bold. We just type in bold in here and it's going to come up with some options for us to use. And kind of like, this is kind of like starting to get there. We can just drag the side to kind of like make this look kind of like it's on two lines. We can come down to our text layouts and we can actually choose the dynamic option here. And we're kind of like starting to get kind of like something a little bit better on there. Now, this doesn't pop out from the design so far, but there's other options that we can choose from here. I'm going to actually change this to a different font that I like to use on a regular basis. And that is the Mudstone Event fonts. Okay, and you can see here, this is starting to look a little bit, you know, like it's going to stand out a little bit more, but it's still not quite right for our design. What we're going to do is we're going to come over to the effects panel and we're going to generate our own text effect to make it look like this is actually made from snow or is kind of like snowflakes or something like that. Now, you can come and you can select all text effects, and it's got some really great inspirational options here for you to choose from. But for me, I'm going to create my own and we're going to call it Snowcap, and we're going to click on generate. Now, I've got really lucky with this because I really like this first option here, and if we zoom in here we can see it looks like it's made from snow, and it's kind of got this kind of like almost gradient kind of like look and feel to it. We've got a couple of other options that we can use, and you can just choose these, and as you choose them it will then kind of like populate that. But the one we've chosen, or the one I'm going to choose, is this one here because it looks like it's like made from snow. It looks like little clouds of snow, and I really like the look and feel of this. Now, the good thing about the text effects inside of Adobe Express is if you wanted to change this and you got the year wrong, you can just come in, change the year, and then it will just generate that. And you can see after a few moments it's just going to change that to the actual, have the same look and feel of that. But we're going to change this back to 2026. Now, I'm really liking the way this is looking and feeling, but what I want to do is add a little bit of a gradient behind this to make it kind of like stand out a little bit more. And to do that, we're going to come over to our content. We're going to come over to elements. We're going to come over to shapes. Forgot where I was there for a second. We're going to choose a rectangle. Now, you can actually now change and add these in as gradients. So we're going to come over and select the color, and then scroll down and we've got a few different gradient options. Now we're in here, we can then choose to come back in and customize this. We can see here we've got our first color. Here is the purple, and if we want to change the blue, we just turn the opacity down, and that's going to then kind of make it go from this solid color into a transparent kind of look. Spin that round by 90 degrees, and we can now put this behind our text. All you do is just drag that down behind our text, and we can see that this is starting to pop. If we wanted to change the color there from that purple color to something a little bit different, we can just come back in, select the eyedropper tool, and let's say I want to make it a little bit more blue to kind of like fit in with the look of the poster here. And we can just drag this up a little bit, and it's going to keep that in there. Again, if we wanted to, if that kind of solid color was a little bit too harsh, we can turn down the opacity of the solid color, and that's going to feather that out a little bit more. Now, I really like the way this is kind of like starting to look and feel, but this to me is kind of like feeling like I want to add something a little bit more to it. So I'm going to add an overlay of a snow effect. Now, to do that, what we're going to do is come over to the content option here, add in the media. We're going to search for snow, and then we've got all of these different snow effects that we could add over the top here. I'm going to choose on this one here. Now, you think to yourself, how are you going to change this, Darren? Well, the opacity option here allows us to blend this, either multiply to be able to show the images from the white, so it will remove the whites and show those through. But if we choose screen, it's going to remove the black from that image, and then we can just come up, drag this over our image, and then drag that down to have that snow effect. We just drag that down below our fonts and also probably below our gradient, so that it's actually sitting there in the back, and it kind of gives us this look and feel of that snow over the top of the poster. Now our poster is really starting to take shape, but what we want to do is add in the details of where this actual event is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gradient, and we're going to duplicate that just by using the keyboard shortcut. I'm going to spin this round 180 degrees or 270 degrees according to the icon there, but that's just how it starts off. So we're going to just basically, we're going to flip that. We could choose that, or we could choose the position option here, and we could just choose the flip option over here to be able to flip that. Anyway, we've now got that gradient on the bottom to be able to now add in our options for where this actual event is. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to content, we're going to come over to our elements, and we're going to choose kind of like, this is based on our design assets. You can see here, all we've done is we've selected on this, and then we're going to click on snowboard, and I really like this one here. I feel like this kind of like still fits in with the design and feel here. So I'm going to put this kind of like around about here. And what I want to do is actually add in a border around that. So we're going to come over to the Elements tab again. We're going to, come over to the Elements tab again. And we're going to go back to our shapes. And we're going to choose a rectangle. Now for this one, you can see there it's still like solid. If you want to choose and remove the grey from that, we just choose this option here with the line through it. That's going to choose the, give it a see-through look. And we choose the border. I want to change the border to white. So we're just going to choose white on that one. And then I want them to kind of like be popping out from this. So I'm going to change the size of them a little bit and have them kind of like popping out. Drag this all the way across. Now we want to make sure that this is centered, so we're going to click on position and center, and then I want to move these forward above the actual shape here so that they are on top of the shape. And now all we need to do is choose our text tool again, and we can choose to add in our text as to where the event is going to be. Now I've gone ahead and done that, and you can see we've just put in our text over on the side here. And that's our poster ready to go. I really like the idea of taking a poster design idea. As I say, we started off by looking at the scrapbooking option. If you've not watched video 1, I'll link this up here for you and also down in the description. So you can see how we've gone from creating that image inside of Adobe Firefly to bringing that into Adobe Express, looking at creating our text effects, our overlays, editing and changing the fonts, bringing in different shapes and styles, and making this into a poster that would look really good to promote our event. I hope you've really enjoyed this, and until next time, thank you very much, and bye for now.